Hello again and welcome to another 140k Imperial Guard video, and today guys I'm going to be talking about the really exciting and cool announcement that Games Workshop put out at the end of last week regarding the new Imperial Guard Cadian upgrade sprue. I am really excited about this. I know that not everyone is, and I'm going to be looking at this from both sides, but I'm laying my stall out now. So you all know where I stand. I think this is a great idea. I am super excited for it, and I think it's a very clever way for Games Workshop to approach this, and I think it's quite shrewd, and we'll be getting into all of those reasons. We'll get to them now, I suppose. So, firstly, let's go through what the release is. So, essentially, it is not a whole new kit for the Cadians. It is an upgrade to the existing Cadian kit, and this sprue that we know at the moment will be included in the current Cadian box. We don't yet know if it will be a separate upgrade sprue, but I imagine it will be, or it'll be included in lots of different boxes, like the Gene Cyclical upgrade sprue. It is included in multiple different boxes. And it essentially does two things. One, it provides 30 additional head variants for your Cadians, all of which I think look really, really good. And it also does something really, goes above and beyond that, which is it now allows you to have all of the special weapons available in your Guardsman box. No longer do you have to convert things using command squad boxes or Space Marine plasma guns and convert them onto las guns. Don't need to do that anymore. Simple, easy. You just buy your Cadian box and it has everything that you need in it. Now, what's really interesting about this, before we even go into the designs or anything like that, what I actually really like about this is it means that whilst the command squad box is definitely nice and has some nice useful bits in it, you could now basically build every kind of guardsman that you're going to need using one kit, from conscripts to veterans to company commanders. You can include everything under one box now because of all the variants of the heads and the weapon options that Games Workshop is giving you in this box. So anyway, let's go through the different head designs. My favourite one is the one that I saw a lot of people taking the piss out of, and I thought that's really weird because I really like it. My favourite one is the guy who's wearing the helmet with the balaclava. I think that's really, really cool. It reminded me, when I saw it, of some sort of Russian Spetsnaz GRU kind of guy. I thought it looked quite sinister and quite evil, and I really, really liked it. I don't know if anyone, well, I suppose the whole world was watching at the time, but when Russia decided to totally not invade Ukraine and take the Crimea, and you saw all their soldiers walking around, they had those kind of balaclavas on. That's how I remember them anyway. And I just thought, wow, that looks really, really cool. And if you wanted to do very much a modern inspired sort of Russian, but like less of a Soviet Union in space and maybe more of a World War II Soviet Union space, and wanted to go for more of a late Cold War Soviet Union in space, that's definitely the head I would get as many of as possible. I think that's really, really cool. But yeah, also, like I said, it includes melter guns, plasma guns, and all that kind of stuff. Other heads that I think look cool, obviously the guy with the moustache and the cards in the helmet, yeah, he looks great. Interestingly, it looks like they've redesigned the old Kazakin respirator head, so it looks a lot chunkier now. That we're coming up in one of the pictures. And obviously one of the big things that has got a lot of people pretty hyped up is the fact that there's female heads. Now, I'm not bothered either way, female, male, doesn't matter to me. I don't see it like that. As long as you're a person that can have a lasgun shoved in your hand and push towards the enemy and to be fed the meat grinder, that's all that matters to me as a guard infantry commander. But I know there are a lot of instances of female regiments in the fluff, Gaunt's Goes, for example, Cypher's Kane, or Kiefer's Kane, however you want to say it. Loads of examples. And it's just a bit easier to represent those regiments now. So I think it's a good little tick in the box. For me personally, it was neither here nor there, but I know for some people it is a big deal, and some people are really up on that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's and there's no harm in Games Workshop doing it. It's good to bring the kit into line, I suppose, with the old modernness, and it's also good to represent some more stuff in the fluff, and also the whole diverse fact that the old guard is basically, it doesn't care what you are, as long as you ain't a heretic or Xenos, you're going to have a gun shoved in your hand and you're going to be pushed to the front lines. So I think it's wins on all sides. It's a nod to the fluff. It's a nod to some of the stuff that goes on today. So I think it's a pretty good move on Games Workshop's there in that regard as well. One thing I did think was kind of funny was the sniper rifle. Maybe it's just me, but it looks like a pump action sniper rifle, which if that is the case would be hilarious. But when it comes back up on the cycle of pictures, if I was being more professional about this, I would have made sure it came up. But here we are. But it could be coming up in that one there. It looks like a pump action sniper rifle to me. It probably most certainly isn't. It probably is actually a long last, and that's just some sort of additional grip, some sort of foregrip kind of thing going on. But it looked like a pump action sniper rifle, which I thought was hilarious. And I might be showing my ignorance here. Maybe pump action sniper rifles are super modern things that I don't know about, and I'm showing my lack of military awareness. But it looks funny. I do like the bipod though. I think that's really cool. And I'll tell you what, that sniper rifle could be very much used for. It could be used for with the bipod and the longer barrel. I think you could potentially turn that to some sort of light support weapon. Take the scope off, bang some sort of box magazine on there. You've got yourself a LMG. Go to a squad support weapon. Like a SAW or a mini-me or something like that. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, overall I think that lots of stuff to be good. Oh, that field cap on that sergeant model as well, so good, so good. If you want less of a, because if you want to go for a proper modern guard regiment, not necessarily special forces, but we're talking proper modern line infantry, I think this kit's going to really let you do it. Your officers with your field caps rather than your aristocratic sort of peaked caps and stuff like that. I think it does definitely let you, it brings the guard less of a World War II faction in space, and I would say the kit and the stuff that we're seeing here, to me, screams Cold War in space, which is good. It's still old school, cool, but also you can make your force look a lot more modern now, which is nice. Anyway, so that's that's my opinion on this. I think it's really good. Now, why do I think it's really good? What's doing it for me? So, number one, as a guard player, we've not had much love recently in general. We've had some crumbs dropped here and there. But getting any kind of release, I'm grateful for. And some people might say, "Oh, you shouldn't accept anything." Yeah, well, we can always ask for more, but we should also be grateful for what we get. That's my sort of approach to life, I suppose. Push for more, but when you get something, don't turn it down, kind of thing. Look at it in a good way, and this is a good thing. There's no way. I don't personally believe there's any way you can look at this and say it's a bad thing. I think personally, it's really good. I also think it's really good for both existing guard players and new guard players. So for existing guard players, I think this is fantastic because it means if we had a whole new infantry kit, the scale would have been off. The scale would have been off, and your old guardsmen would not have fit in alongside new guardsmen. Look at old Sisters of Battle versus new Sisters of Battle. Look at Firstborn Marines versus Primaris. Okay, it just wouldn't have worked. And I'm going to be selfish about this. I've got 500 guardsmen. Between all my different regiments, I've got at least 500 guardsmen. I don't want to have a bunch of guardsmen that aren't going to fit in with that. The Cadian sculpts, these Cadian sculpts right now, next to a Mordian, next to a Steel Legion, there's already a difference. When you put the two models next to each other, there's a slight difference, but slight yet noticeable difference. And that would have meant if I wanted to use my old Mordians with some sort of new guardsman kit, they would have made it bigger, and that difference would have been exaggerated. So personally, that's for me. Secondly, what I think is a really important thing to take into account is this is good for new players because it removes one of those barriers to guard, which is that they're fiddly to collect. You have one infantry kit, but it doesn't have everything that you need. And you do often have, as a guard, you have forum post after forum post with guard players, new guard players saying, "I've bought the kit. How come I can't put plasma guns on my guys? It says in the codex I can." And everyone, all the old school guard players like, "Oh well, it's perfectly simple. Go and convert them." Blah 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 blah. And to a lot of new players, that's like, to us it's normal because that's the way we've always been because we're long-beard old school guard players. But to a lot of newer players, especially ones that have come over from factions like Marines, it's like, oh, so it's not just all in the box for me. Oh, I'm not really feeling this faction anymore. Okay. And you know, that's an absolutely fine position to take when you're a newer player, because you're newer. You want your entry into this faction to be made easier, and then when you start becoming a bit of a long beard, becoming a bit of a veteran, that's when naturally your compulsion will kick in to convert and to do little bits and bobs. That's normal. That's the normal process that I think nearly all of us, the majority of players go down. You start off building it just as you see it on the box, and then after a year or so, or a few months of doing that, depending on how much hobby time you put it in, you will naturally progress to I want to convert things and do things my own way. That's absolutely fine. So having everything in one box is really, really good. It also, just in general, so that's my sort of new player, old player, why I think it's good for both things. One point I want to address now is is why some people are not happy with this. They want a brand new kit, okay, and they think this is a bit weak. I personally, as I said, I know why. I've laid out why I think this is good. This is a good move. I also want to say to those people that say we should have got a new kit, the current Cadian kit is actually really, really good for a number of reasons. Number one, it's totally modular. The new kits that you get from Games Workshop, I've had some experience with these recently. The new kits, when I've been dabbling here and there, looking at maybe a new faction for the channel or something like that, the newer kits are very modular, very monopose, I should say. Now, the current Cadian kit does have a few wacky poses that some people don't like the guy who's like swinging his bayonet up into the air. The thing is, with this current kit, it is so easy to avoid those poses. At the bottom of the Cadian, that guy on the top left here, in the bottom of the Cadian kit, there's a couple of little, I don't know what you'd call it, like ridges, little bits that stick out. If you shave those off, it's literally two little shave with a hobby knife. You've almost got infinite flexibility on the arms. Infinite flexibility. You just do not have that in the newer kits. And so, and as someone who I believe can offer quite a good perspective on this, as someone who has spent the last 2 years converting over 200 plastic Cadian models, and who I believe that every single one of those models is slightly unique in every single way, in terms of head position, equipment, las rifle position, backpacks, all this kind of stuff. I would not trade that after doing that for 2 years and then trying out some of these newer kits. I would not trade in our newer kit, our older kit for maybe slightly updated models, but I'm fixed in a position. Monopose models really don't work for the guard. Look at the easy to build kit, the Snapfit Guardsman. The economical way of building your pure infantry guard armor is to spam those kits over and over again, but no one likes doing that for one simple reason. Because after a few dozen boxes of those, or after half a dozen boxes of those, the monoposes become a problem. And that's what you'd have. And we're in a Space Marine army, the monoposes aren't so bad, because you'd get maybe 2 or 3 different squads of guys of the same intercessors. You maybe have like 3 or 4 5-man squads of intercessors. But in guard, the minimum you're using is 60. So imagine if there's only like 2 poses. Only, even if there was 10 poses in a single box of 10 guardsmen, that's still going to become very noticeable after 4 or 5 squads. And the moment you start going above that, 5 or 6 squads, 7 or 8, 10 squads, the monopose thing's really going to kick in. It's really going to kick in. So the modularity is fantastic. The other thing I want to say is, if you haven't done this, I highly recommend you do it. The current Cadian kit can be instantly modernized by a simple head swap. Again, as someone who has literally carried out over 200 head swaps for my army, okay, and I've been restricted to 7 different kind of heads from Amber Industry, and then a few bits for here and there from like the Chimera kit and the Command Squad kit and stuff like that. The fact that you're getting 30 heads per box now is going to add so much to the kit. A simple head swap is insane. You go on, it just makes such a difference to the current kit. You go on any forum, and you ask that question, oh, I don't like the current Cadian heads, what should I do about it? You'll get person after person after person saying, simple head swap. Just to swap the head, and you will not believe the difference it makes to the kit. You will not believe it. So I just want to say, like, those are my points. It's just that modularity and that ease of just bringing the kit up to a modern standard by just doing something so simple is why I think this is both good for the players and a very clever move on Games Workshop's part. One other thing to mention, bit of the elephant in the room, which is I think this is a very shrewd business move from Games Workshop. I've had multiple long conversations with my friends regarding how much money Games Workshop is leaving on the table by not offering head swaps, by not offering upgrade sprues. You know, Anvil Industries, Mad Robot Minis, Victoria Miniatures, these are all third-party companies who have built their business and have lived off and have made quite a successful living off providing something as simple as a head swap. You do see the occasional person who's got a full Anvil Industry model regiment, but you more often see, I see more often now than not, guard players who have just gone to Anvil Industries for head swaps. They haven't even looked at their own regular guardsmen. I think you see guardsmen with a head swap more often than you see guardsmen without a head swap these days. Okay, I think that's the case. And you've got whole businesses which basically make their living off basically selling head swaps to the guard. I think it's like at least a £2 to £3 million industry just from some of the top. I think when me and my friends did very, very rough napkin math on this, it was something like, in terms of net worth or whatever it was, I think we worked out the top 5 or 6 companies that are doing this kind of stuff, it was like 2 or 3 or 4 million pounds of money that Games Workshop was basically leaving on the table. And so from a business point of view, this is very clever because it will allow Games Workshop to directly compete with those people which have essentially been profiting off Games Workshop's not offering head swaps, and now Games Workshop's offering them. And it is convenient. Imagine being able to go, you don't have to wait any longer to get your head swaps from Anvil Industries. You don't have to wait for that anymore. You don't have to deal with the resin and the fact that the Anvil head sockets don't quite fit like the model and you have to trim the neck bit off for the guard. I've got 30 head swaps right here, I'll just do it. I think this is really, really clever. I love Anvil Industries and I really, really hope that this doesn't super impact them, but I think it will. Anvil Industries are like the unofficial sponsor of the channel. They've never, they gave me a couple of free models to review. It's like the best video on this channel. I absolutely love them. I've converted an entire Mordian army with them. Because they were there and Games Workshop wasn't. But if Games Workshop had had a Mordian Iron Guard upgrade sprue out, I would have used Games Workshop's Mordian Iron Guard upgrade sprue because it would have been more convenient for me. It's a sad fact of it, really. And so what I think this could be, and I don't know, maybe it'll just be a Cadian upgrade sprue. Maybe that'll be it. But I could definitely see this as being a springboard for multiple other upgrade sprues to come out. I think it could be. I think if Games Workshop just does it again. Here's 30 Talan heads. Here's 30 Mordian heads. Here's 30 Vestroyan heads. I think that if they did that, that's going to cause some real. They're going to swallow up some. They're going to reclaim some of that money they've been leaving on the table. Anyway, what do you guys think? That's both. That's both good for the player for convenience, but bad for the player. Bad for, I like small businesses. I'm a small business person, so I'm kind of conflicted on that. I'll be upfront with you guys. I'm kind of conflicted. On the one hand, it's like, yeah, Games Workshop, give us the love. I love it. I'm grateful for the crumbs. Oh yes, we've not just got crumbs now. We've probably got like half a slice of bread. I'm grateful for that, and my inner hobbyist is really excited for that. But on the other hand, I do feel a bit conflicted because I do feel quite loyal to Anvil Industries and everything. Well, as long as Games Workshop don't do Mordian heads, I'll still be buying them from Anvil, I suppose. But it'll be a difficult choice to justify buying them elsewhere if I can just go into my Games Workshop and get all the heads that I need. It's going to be interesting. Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider heading on over to the Patreon page. There's a link down in the description below. All of the Patreon money, I'm really transparent with it, gets reinvested straight back into the channel. I use it for things like the Great Mordian Restoration Project, I use it for things like video equipment, and also for doing things like the new Battle Bunker, which I'm going to be very excited to be getting some battle reports out of there soon. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. Massive thank you to all my Patreons and channel supporters. You guys are awesome. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.